All right, welcome to another episode of Discover, Fail, and Learn. Today we're going to learn how to make threads in TinkerCad. We'll make the bolt part and then also the part it will screw into, and this will work for anything you want, any shape you want to screw into. And this came up because I wanted to make some like Christmas cards on my 3D printer, and I needed some, way to secure the two pages together, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to have like a threading mechanism on there. So I said, well, first I need to learn how to make threads. And so I did some research out there, and most will kind of show you how to do it, but they might not say the details that I'll be giving here. In other words, you can, create a thread, but they might not fit together after you 3D print them. I've seen other videos where they mention that you'll have to change the size just so that it works with the 3D printer, but not a lot of details. So I'm going to give my experience with it, and I've probably printed about 20 or 30 models trying it out and seeing what works. And unfortunately, it's not going to be some given equation where it tells you a given formula on how much you should decrease or increase the size of the bolt to make it fit right. But I'll give you some examples of what I did just to give you a good head start. So let's get started here. So first, here's TinkerCad. So it's just tinkercad.com. It's a great site. You can make a couple things in there. You can make, let's just get back to the home here. So if you go back here, you can do a couple things. You can go create here, and you can do a 3D design, or you can make circuits or code blocks. It's pretty cool. I haven't tried the other stuff much, but I have, of course, done the 3D stuff here. So here's my threading demo. Alright, so it gives you a work plane here. And this is all black over here because I have this dark reader, which is really helpful. If I turn it off, this is what you would probably see, where it's all white. But that hurts my older eyes, so I like to turn this on. And it makes it a little lighter, or a little darker, rather. Alright, so let's go here. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have to create a thread. So what you want to do is go over here to your select of your shapes over here on the right side. And if we click it here, we'll go down to shape generators. And it takes a while to load. And there you go. So once it loads, it gives you a couple of shape generators. And here's a screw here, an isometric thread. So you click on that. You can click on it and drag it, or just click on it once, and when you come over, it'll bring it over. And we're going to try different threads here. I've tried all the way down to like an 1/8 inch thread, really small, and then I've tried bigger ones. So we'll try a bigger one here. We'll try a 1 inch head on it, and then the thread, of course, will be a little smaller. So let's go ahead and make this here. So here's our thread, and now we want to change a couple things. First, we're going to do the diameter here. So let's make this 0.75, so 3/4 of an inch. So what you can do is once you click on it, it gives you these properties over here. And let's go ahead and turn this off. And yeah, it's going to make it easier to see. So let's turn that dark reader off. So if you come over here, it'll show you all your different things you can make for it. So we have a solid. We'll get into the difference between solid and whole here in a bit. But if you go to diameter, you can just click on this right here and then type 0.75, hit enter, and then you'll notice it gets bigger. And you'll notice when it makes a change, when you make a change, this will have like a red highlight on it, which means it's thinking, and then it goes to the normal color once it does it. So, alright, so we'll have this here, and we have our thread here. And now we want to make it, let's make it a little bigger. So we can take the length, and there's not really a good way. I don't like just stretching it out and changing the thread width that way. What I'll do is just you go to rotations here, and this will tell you, if you have a thread pitch of 0.05, the more rotations, the longer it'll be for your, and then each rotation will be so many of, according to the pitch. So if we go here, rotations, we can just increase it. See how it gets bigger? And we're going to make this, let's say, let's flip it over here. And we're going to make it like, we'll make the whole object that it's screwed into and the object, let's say 1 inch. So we'll use that as our factor here. So what we want to do now is we got to think this out here. So let's go ahead and flip this over. So you'll notice these little lines up here, these little arrows to the left and right. If you click and hold on that, you can drag it, and you want to do it about 90 degrees. And the reason I'm doing that is because now I can look at it here and compare it for how long I want the thread. So let's go ahead and make it maybe 3/4 of an inch. So if you click on this black here, it shows you on the bottom it's 0.635 length. And again, we don't want to drag that, but that's how long it is now. But if I change these rotations up, see how it gets a little bigger? So let's move this over to here. Make sure it's lined up in that line. Okay. Oh, I see. It's not exact, so that's why it's clipping over there. So change the rotations. Okay, there's about an inch. If I do it one more, you can see now it's about an inch long, but we want it shorter than that because we're going to make the whole object that threads into that much. So we're going to bring it down to maybe 3/4. So if you look at these here, this is an inch. It defaults as metric. So if you click on settings, you can sit here and say, do you want, millimeters or inches? I have inches. And then you could also say the width of the workspace here is 8 inches by 8 inches. And then you could say make default, and that'll make sure each time you bring it up, it always save to that. So right now I'm going to close the settings. We have it on inches. And now, so if that's the case, this is about, right here is about 1/2 inch in the middle. And then 2 more bars would be 3/4. So we have 6 of these little boxes within the big box. So we've got that size there. All right, so now we're going to say, okay, that's a good size. So we know that's 3/4 of an inch for the threads. So we're going to go ahead and spin that back over, back to 90. There you go. And drag this on the side. Now we're going to make a couple of copies of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to make 3 copies of this. So we have 1 copy here, and we're going to click on it. And then I'm on a Mac, so I have to hit Command Copy, but of course it'd be Control Copy on a Windows machine. So Command Copy, and then I'm going to do Command V for paste or Control V for Windows, and it's going to make 1 copy, 2 copies. So I'm going to drag this copy over here, this copy right here, and I'll show you what I'm using these for. This is kind of I like leaving this here for what the original is, so we always have that copy to copy from if we ever mess up or anything. And then this is going to be the actual, well, one of these here is going to be the actual bolt, and the other one's going to be the hole that the bolt goes into, the hollow area. So what we have to do for that, and I'll do that a little bit here just to kind of explain what that is. But first I'm going to start with the item that it's going to go into. And so we're going to go up here to where it says shape generators. Now we're going to select to just basic shapes. Now remember, you could use any shape you want that you're going to draw a hole into, but we're going to create the actual object that it fits into. So if we go over here, we don't want to click these because these cylinders with the lines through it, these are holes. We don't want to create a hole. We want to create an actual object. And that's what the solid and hole is for as well. And like I said, I'll kind of show you what that means. So we're going to let's create another cylinder. I click on that. Oh, click on that. There we go. And we're going to make this cylinder an inch by inch. So as you can see, it fills up this whole inch here. So this is an inch wide. And now we're going to make it an inch tall too. So what we're going to do is get this. Oh, it's already an inch tall. But if you want to change that, you can click on this, drag it up and down, and it'll tell you what it is. And if you're like, oh, I want it something exact, you can click in this little number area here after you drag it, and you can just type it. Bam, there it is. Pretty easy. Very nice tool. And by the way, to drag this around and move it, I am right-clicking on my mouse and then doing this to just get different views. If you left-click, that is how you select items. And then I'm using the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. So pretty easy to use. All right, so now we have an inch cylinder here that we're going to drill into. And we have 3 of these screws that are 3/4 inch wide. The default thread pitch, which we saw in the shape. If we click on it again, we could see it here. I don't play with all these other things, but you can if you want. Thread scale and all that good stuff. The rotations I just use to make it longer or shorter. But anyway, that's what we have there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make the hole in here that will fit this. All right. So we're going to get one of these here. Let's pick on this one right here. We're going to drag it over, and we're going to make a hole in there. So if we click on this, we want to make the hole the size of the screw thread. So we click on this item here, and we click on hole. Poof, now it's a hole. So now what we want to do is move it into the middle here so it will create a hole for this object. And so we're going to have it exactly centered into the top to have that thread in there. So what we're going to do, now we have a hole here, remember it's selected up here. We're going to select both of these by highlighting them. Both these are selected. And then we're going to go up here to the Align tool. It looks like L, you can hit it. I just like using the mouse. But this tool up here, Align, you click on it, and you get all these cool little things here, these little dots. And what this will do is let you align it to anywhere you want to go. And right now it's focusing on this, but you can click on the object you want it to align to. So for example, I'm going to change it here so I can look at it better. So I want it to align to this object. I want the hole to align to this solid shape. So I'm going to click on the shape now. There we go. And now you see this dot is towards the top. And when you highlight it, it shows you what it's going to do. It shows you its reference to this top. And you can see how that hole moved up, because I want the hole to be on the top, right? So I'm going to go ahead, mouse over that, and click it. Poof. Now all of a sudden that hole moves to the top of that line. Pretty cool, huh? All right. Now we're going to want to center it in the middle. So first we want to center it this way. So see, there's another dot down here saying, hey, I'm going to move it over here. Boom. There it goes. Centers it right there. So now it's on the top to the left right here. So now we're going to want to center it over here. So now we got a dot here. Shows, you can kind of see it. It's going to center it in the middle, left and right. So I go over here and click on that. Poof, there's a hole there. Kinda. So now the shape is in the middle there. And what it'll do too is, see how this is grayed out and I can't click on it? What that means, and let's go ahead and highlight that again. What that means is that I can't center it because it's already centered. So if you see it gray, it just means it's already in the middle. But see, I can do these things still if I wanted to. But anyway, so now we have a hole that is in the middle here and goes down, and it's level with the top and goes here. So now we want to actually cut that hole in there. So what you're going to do is you want to make sure this is highlighted, which highlights the hole and the shape. And then we come up to here and it says group. So all we're going to do is click on this group. And now it's red, it's processing, and poof, once the red goes away, it processed. And now that shape has those threads in it. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so there we go. So now I've noticed a couple of problems. This may work like that, but what I like to do, what I'll find sometimes is these screws, see how it's smaller here and the thread starts over here, and I'll have a hard time threading it. So we have to do a couple things to help it out. And I'm sure people have a ton of different ways, but this is how I'm going to do it. So what I like to do is get another cylinder like this, and we're going to make the cylinder the size of this screw, which is 0.75. So we're going to go and click on this, and again we click on this black and see how I move it to, well, 3/4 is 0.75. You can see it says 3/4 down there, and then we got to do it the other way, so we have an oval. 3/4. So this now is the size of that thread, and it's the size of the outer thread, right? So like right here on the top, since it's doing this small area, it's going to be very small. So if you try to thread that in there, it's going to be kind of, it won't work really well. So I'm going to just kind of pre-cut a little bigger hole up on the top. So now you don't want to go too far into it. So what I'm going to do now is shrink this. And I like taking it, if you look down here on the bottom right, it says snap grid. So I'm going to take it to 1/32 of an inch. All right, that's my snap. So when I pull this down, it snaps by 1/32, right? I'm going to bring it down. So there you go. So 0.031 is about that. I let go. So now I have that. Now if I place this up on here and put it up there and then, make it group that item, it's just going to cover up that hole, and that's not what I want to do. I want it to carve it out. So again, I'll click on this object and make it a hole. So it shows it as a hole now, and I clicked up here in hole. And then I got to do the thing again where I center it. So I'm going to highlight these items, and now I have to center just like I did with that screw. I want it on the top. So again, I have to go up here on Align, the Align tool, and I want it to go on the top. So here, see how it's going to move it right up when I hover over that top dot. Poof, now it's on the top. And now I want to align it in the middle. And you see it's aligning off of this object because I don't see any... Oh, is it? Let's see. Yeah, so I'm going to click on this object. There you go. I'm going to click on the object I want it to align to. So now I can click on this. I apologize, that's my dog down below me here. Let's see, making all that noise. So I can click on this dot, and it's going to center right there. Cool. And you can see it's a little off, so I'm going to click this one here to center it the other way. There you go. So now I got a slight carve, a 1/32 hole on the top to give it a little help screwing in there. And then of course now I got to highlight it, the hole in that. And again I go up to here to this group, and that's going to make them become one, basically carve out that hole. Oof, there you go. So see, now there's a nice little hole to help it in. And if that's not enough to help it in, depending on your thread size, you can always make it, maybe 1/16 and bigger, smaller, whatever you want to do. But 1/32 seems to be pretty standard for at least bigger ones. If you make a little tiny screw, of course, you may want it definitely a lot smaller than that. So, all right, so there's our screw ready to go in there. Okay, or at least for the hole in there. All right, so now we're going to make our screw to go in there. So here's the screw in here. Now what we have to do, this is the tricky part, because if we were to just print it like this, and trust me, I've tried tons of times, it will just not fit in there because it's, the tolerances of the 3D printer. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to shrink this. And now how much you shrink it by, really changes a lot of it's dependent on a lot of factors. So this is a bigger screw, so I might have to change it more, but I made one, like I said, that was, I think it was just probably like a 1/4 inch wide or a little less than that. And I changed it by, I shrunk it by 0.01 diameter, and that seemed to fix it. But for this one, I've tried a couple, and I'll show you the differences between them. But I first tried to shrink it by 0.1, and then I tried it by 0.05, and the 0.05 seemed to be best for this shape at least, or for this size. All right, so let's change this then. I know the 0.05 worked the best, so you go up here, click on the screw, you click on the diameter number here and type, well, we're going to shrink it by 0.05, so 0.75 minus that would be 0.7. Enter. There you go. So now we have a 0.7 screw there. And there's our screw to go in there. All right. So now what we need, and as you can see too, it looks like this has kind of gone down below here when we, change the size. So if it ever does that, you can click on it, and then you have these up arrows here. You can scroll that up until it says 0, which means you're level with that. So now we have our screw there, and now we're going to need a top on it to grab it by, and it's going to meet up with this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and create another cylinder. So we're going to click over here in cylinder, and we got a 1 inch here, and we're going to have this match exactly the top, and we know this is already a 1 inch cylinder. So then what we're going to do is change this, and we're going to shrink. The top can be a little bigger here, so maybe we'll have it a 1/4 inch. Yeah, that'll work. So we're going to change that to maybe a 1/4 inch, and that might be too big. Let's see. Yeah, actually, 1/4 inch. Okay. There you go. So now there's a 1/4 inch top. Alright, so now we need to put this top on top of this screw, right? And make it 1. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drag this over here and we're going to center this again just like we did with everything else on the holes over here. But again, these are both solid objects. We want them to become one screw, right? And not put any holes in there. So we're going to make sure it's solid. And we're going to highlight that. And we're going to do this align tool again. Great tool. And we're going to, actually I'm going to pull that up on the top. But we're going to center these. And we want to center it to the screw. First, actually, let's do this. Let's bring this up to the top of the screw. And we're going to bring this up level with this object. So that it fits with that. And again, this screw is only going to go so deep in, because if we line it with this object, then when it's attached to the screw, this will sit on top, and then this screw will hopefully start right here and then fit that whole thread that we put there, because this thread, remember, was aligned with the top here. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and align it over here, bring it over here, and we're going to highlight these items, and then we're going to do the align tool. And we want to align it to the top, so you click on this. Okay, so now the top is aligned with that top. So now we want to align the screws here, so we're going to bring this over here. Look at that. And we're going to highlight both these objects, the screw and the top. And now we're going to hit the align tool again, and we want the centers, we want both the centers equal together. We're going to click on that. And I did not want to do that, so again, Control Z or Command Z. Alright, we're going to try that again. Align the middle. And we're going to want the align the middle here. Okay, so there you go. And we want to align the screws. Okay, there they go. And there you go. And I think this, you want to make sure too, this thread is somewhat, see how it's somewhat in there? Because if we're going to take this off just for this sake here, we're going to move it. If you move the arrow keys, if you click on it, on the object and then hit the arrow keys, it moves. But yeah, you want to make sure a lot of this surface is on this surface so it doesn't break off or it's attached. In this case, we're attached. For a small screw, I actually put this thread more up into here to make it part of that object, just so it had more to grip onto. But we're going to go ahead and move that back. I just did an undo there. Alright, so now we have, it looks like a screw. So now we want to make that one object so we can move it together. So you're going to highlight it. And then right here, you're going to group the object. Poof, now it's one object. And again, when it turns red quickly like that, it means it's thinking about it. And once that goes away, it's done with what it needs to do. Alright, so now we have a thread that will screw into there. Hopefully. Again, we can change the sizes here if it doesn't fit right. Alright, so now the thing is, we got to think about, we're going to 3D print this, so we want to set it up the best way to print it. So what you're going to do is flip this over, because if you print it this way, it's got these overhangs and it won't print right. So I'm going to click this object, which is now one object because I joined it, and you click on these little arrows here and you click on it and hold, and you drag it and move it around until it gets 180, which means it's perfectly level. There you go. So now it's upside down, and now I want to make sure it's touching the plate, because if it's hovering, the 3D printer won't like that, obviously. So this little line, I can click on it and make sure it's at 0. Yep, 0. Click on this object. Is this on 0? Push it up, down. Yep, 0. We're good. Okay. Now there's another, so here we go. This should work from this, and we're going to go ahead and print these. But there's one thing to also consider. So you can print these as a one object, or you can print it as multiple objects, or save them as multiple objects. And why that might be useful is if you save this, if I highlight this and export this as one object or one STL file, it will have to be grouped together when you include it into your 3D program. So wherever you drag it to and drop it and print it, it has to be like this together, which can be kind of annoying, especially if you're printing something else big next to it. You may want to separate this and have this print, say, on the table over here, and then this over here. And if you want to separate those, then what you can do is you can export these as two different files. So actually, let's do that. It's probably good practice to do that. If you want to export this as one file where they always have to be together, you can highlight both of these and then export it. But for example, we're going to do it as separate ones. So what we're going to do is click the first object, and we're going to say export. And now it says the selected shape, which is this item. And then you want to say STL. And it's going to save it as threading demo right there. And then I'm going to click this one, do the same thing, STL, and now it's going to export that one too. So now we're going to go to our 3D print program. Alright, so now we're going to create a new project. Now this is all depending on what software you use, but it's the same kind of thought. So now I'm going to show you how these individual items will help here. So if I import an object, we have our threading demo here. I can open it. See, it puts it as one object. And then I can import another item and do that one. And poof, see, now they're two separate objects. I can put them wherever I want and separate them, which is cool. If I just selected them together and exported them, they would all have to move. Try not to get you dizzy there. They would all have to move together as one object. And, so it just gives you a little more versatility. All right. Couple of things to say here before we look at the final printed designs. Again, you can make it any shape you want. This is just a cylinder here. So if we wanted to create another one, and again, why I like having this, a backup thread here to use as an example, or as a reference. So I could use any shape I want. So, I mean, let's just pick, I don't know, let's do a cone or whatever that's called. So we could do something like that and then put the hole in there if we wanted to. Let's do another shape here. I don't know. Say we wanted to do a circle. So we could go like this, make a big circle. Not really a circle at this point, but let's go ahead. So there we go. And then what we could do is if we wanted to make this thread go into here too, we can go ahead and click on this, copy it so we keep our reference. And that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. And so now I have a new item. We're going to make that as a hole. And then we would just want to align it. I mean, you could put the hole wherever you want in here, really. As long as you could reach it. It has to be on the outside, of course, at least part of it, so you can thread into it. But if we want to do that, I can go here and highlight this. Try not to highlight. Let's get a better view here. Here we go. So now we can highlight both of these, and we're going to do the align again, and we're going to click on this object. So if we want the center, let's get the tops. There we go. In the middle. And it's a hole, so now we can highlight all of it again. And now we can join it up here, or group, sorry. And it's red. Okay, poof, there's the hole. Look at that. And again, I would recommend if you wanted, this may work in there like that. You can try it, but what I like to do is give it a little help with a cylinder to help with the drill hole. And again, this is going to be, what, 0.75 to match the size of this screw, which if you click on it, see the diameter is 0.75. And again, the screw again is going to be smaller than 0.75 just to help it fit with the tolerances of a 3D printer. Like I said, I did it by 0.05 and that seemed to help. So if we click on here, I'm going to go ahead and shrink this to 0.75 or 3/4, of course, same thing. All right, then we're going to shrink this down. Again, I think I did 1/32, so we're going to shrink this down to that. which is one snap grid means each of these snaps is 1/32. So if we go to 0 and just go up 1, we got 1/32. And we're going to change that to a hole again. And then we got to do the whole fun align thing again. So we're going to do this. Select the two objects we're going to be aligning. Hit the align tool. Get a better view. We're going to align it in the top. Yeah, let's see. Right there. And I'm going to click on the object I'm aligning to just to make sure. There we go. And I'm going to click the middle, so it's in the middle now, and I'm going to make sure it's in the middle this way, which it's not. So we click on this dot here. There we go. Now remember, once you put that hole there, it's not done yet. Now you need to highlight the hole and the shape, and then merge that hole with that shape, or group again. Sorry, I keep calling it merge. There you go. So now if I were to print that, guess what? This screw would fit right into there. And so you can do it with any shape. Alrighty, let's go ahead and print those, show a time lapse of that, and then show you how they turned out. Alright, here we are with our printed shapes. So here's our cylinder right here, and then here's the kind of the oval shape that we printed out, and then here is the one that I shrunk by 0.1 inches, and here's the one that I shrunk by 0.05 inches. We're going to go ahead and try these out right now. Alright, so here's the thread. Let's try the one that I tried first. So if I thread that in there, what I noticed, see, it'll thread in there really easily, but see how it wiggles back and forth, a little loose, but it works. There you go. See how it tightens it up? And see how it slipped right there? But there it lines right up. See how even the flat sides are lined up. And then once you tighten it up, it's pretty secure. But once you have it here, it's kind of wiggly, which means the tolerances are really wide open here. So let's go ahead and try the 0.05 we printed out. So here's the 0.05. Oh, that one screws in nice. See, doesn't shake. Yeah, that one screws in really nice. Alright, and it lines up as well. Nice and tight. Take it out a little bit. See? No wiggle there. That's nice. So yeah, like I said, you have to try it. I tried this one first, didn't work. I had the 0.05, and that works nice and snug in there. Alright, so now let's try it with this other one we did. So I did the same concept, different shape. So we'll try the 0.1 smaller thread. So yeah, this thread is the 0.75, and then this would be 0.65. Screw that in there. Screws in there. Yeah, see how it just kind of wobbles back and forth. Try to just move my hand. So it works, but you know the tolerances are a little loose there. So let's go ahead and try the other one. So here's the 0.05 smaller threads here to fit in here, just for the tolerances of the printer. Put that in there. Yeah, that's much nicer. And now watch, see if I can wiggle that one. There is absolutely no wiggle in that one. So I think 0.05 for this shape is good. Again, you got to try different shapes or different sizes of that thread. You'll never have to make the thread bigger than the 0.75 or whatever you have. It'll always be a little smaller to fit that tolerance. So yeah, that one fits 0.05 for this size. Seems to work pretty good if you shrink it by that much. Cool. So a success. So yeah, just some things to keep in mind when you make your threads. So now you can make it for, for attaching anything, for making your own 3D objects in TinkerCAD. Really cool program. It's free. But yeah, it's a great way to get into making your own shapes. And hopefully I'll have some more things, demos that I'll run on there, that I'll run through on TinkerCad to try out. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. Thanks. Have a good one.